Good afternoon, everyone. Major Terrell Walker, new to the Jersey Guard. Been here for a little over 7 months now. I work in Joint Force Headquarters, and I've been asked to give a briefing on ROPMA versus position vacancy.
Talk in the mic.
So these are some of the things we're going to cover today. The big thing here is just to give you an overview of what happens when ROPMA position vacancy comes up. A lot of this is hidden from you. You don't really see it happening. It's kind of like a whole bunch of paperwork behind your back. Then, hey, guess what? You're up for promotion. Most of you are second lieutenants, captains. I see everything out there, so that's a good thing. So hopefully we'll touch on some of these things that you all are interested in hearing. This is our governing director, ANGI 362504. Basically here is to provide a stable, consistent, and visible career progression pattern for all of us as officers. And also to maintain a balance between position vacancy and mandatory promotions. Position vacancy promotions. The key here is not to be routinely just given out. It's not something that the wing's just going to hand out, everyone gets a position vacancy promotion. It's designed to give officers who are standing out, who are above the rest, an opportunity to progress. Who the commanders find is ready for that next level promotion. The way I like to think of it is someone who the wing comes to rely on, or your unit comes to rely on to get the job done. I think of it as a tire. I know this sounds weird, but you have four tires on your car. If they're properly inflated, they're properly balanced, they're going to get you safely and efficiently to the destination that you want to go to. So if you are ready, you're standing up, you're able to absorb the weight the commander's putting on you, you're shining, he or she is going to say, you know what, I think that person's ready for position vacancy promotion. So how do you become eligible for your position vacancy promotion? I'm not going to read through it, but I am going to touch on each of these. The big thing here is time and grade. Once you hit certain milestones, certain time and grades, then the clock begins to tick for versus ROPMA versus position vacancy. As a captain, at 4 years, you are eligible for PV. Major to lieutenant colonel, 4 years, lieutenant colonel to colonel within 3 years. Got to have your PME finished. You all probably know that your first level BDE, also called SOS, Squadron Officer School, which has already been brought up. Your next level of PME is your IDE, Air Command and Staff College. And your last one, to go from lieutenant colonel is Air War College. You also need to be recommended by your commander. Again, stand out. Some of you are probably thinking, well, how do I stand out as a traditional? Later on in my career, I started to say, you know what? I'm authorized 30 days, which later you'll find out. I'm going to use the Friday before UTA to come in. Get my CBTs done, because we all know that takes a lot of time. Talk to the commander at the end of the day and say, sir, ma'am, what can I do to help the unit? What can I do to help our organization grow? They give you a project, you accomplish the project, you look for the next one. Those are some of the things you can do as a company grade officer to look for that position vacancy promotion. OPRs must meet standards. Yet they take into account your last 2 OPRs, and they have to meet standards. All categories meet standards. You have to be the only one in the position, sole occupant. There are caveats to that. There are waivers out there, but on the surface, you should be the only one in that position. There are recruiting initiatives that allow for double occupancy, and we still promote your unit vacancy. Fully qualified in your primary AFSC. We went back and forth, primary AFSC versus duty AFSC. Basically, you want to have all your schooling done and get that 3 prefix on the end of your AFSC. Then you have to have a current fit test. We already talked about fit test. We beat that horse down, if you will. So as it's going through the process, we want to have that PT test stay current through the process as it goes through NGB for review. So that's basically how you become eligible. What's the process look like? Again, as I mentioned earlier, it has to go through your chain of command. It goes all the way up from your squadron commander, group commander, goes to mission support, they send it up to wing commander, comes to Joint Force Headquarters. We just want to make sure that everything is legit, everything is right, accurate. When I say we, Colonel McKay, General Bolton, or the tag says, yes, you can hold a board for this member's position vacancy promotion. That's when you get all dressed up in your blues, you go in before the board, they ask you a few questions, they give you a thumbs up, you walk out of there thinking, hey, I'm a new captain, or hey, I'm a new major, hey, I'm a new lieutenant colonel. Not so fast. There's still some paperwork to be involved. The paperwork gets routed through, comes up to headquarters. We QC it, we send it down to NGB A1. And as you can see there, it takes anywhere from 4 to 6 months. You're not authorized, again, you are not authorized to wear that new rank until you are federally recognized. I know some of you are thinking, well, it's a state order, I should be able to wear my new rank in my state. I don't want to get into it. You could, but you shouldn't, because you might actually drive out to your state and be out of uniform. So we want to not wear it until you are properly notified with your Fed Rec order. With that being said, when you are PV promoted, there are 2 dates that you have to be aware of: date of rank and your effective date of rank. For position vacancy, your date of rank will be the day that the state board was held and approved. Your effective date will be the date that the order was signed off by the Secretary of Defense. Once that all happens, it gets signed off, it flows back down from NGB down to headquarters, down to the wing distributes it, and then hopefully you'll have a ceremony swearing you in. That's your next grade. Mandatory promotions. For years I thought it was the Reserve Officer Promotion Management Act, but it's actually Reserve Officer Personnel Management Act. And the reason why I highlight 1996, that's when they kind of got rid of the time and service and brought in time and grade. ROPMA goes back into the 50s, into the 80s. There was a lot to handle, so in your spare time, if you want to learn any more about it, feel free to do so. Mandatory promotions, again, some of you are first lieutenants going to captain. I went through ROPMA all my career up to this point. 2 years as a second lieutenant, 2 years as a first lieutenant, 7 years as a captain. Again, there's a big list that comes out from NGB A1. Your wing commander, squadron commander, group commanders, they all scrub the list to make sure the body is still there, the person is still here, and you're qualified and ready to move on to the next grade. Again, for those officers that are in the nursing corps, you can see the note up there. You have to have a bachelor's degree before you can put on captain. That's mainly for our nursing corps. Most of our other officers already have our bachelor's degree in place. The other thing here, you do not have to be fully qualified in your AFSC for mandatory promotions. One, you're still learning your career, you're still learning your job, you're still learning what your responsibilities are. So it takes some time to get that 3 on the end of your AFSC. And this reserve active status list, it only comes into play for ROPMA. So as some of you are transferring, coming off the street, if you will, different branch of service or sister services, as you come into the Air National Guard, you have to be recognized in that state as a reserve of the Air Force on this list for at least 1 year before you're eligible for your mandatory promotion. Moving on to our majors to lieutenant colonels. Again, this list comes out from NGB. Again, it gets scrubbed sometime in the November time frame. And I mentioned the November time frame, and I'll get to that later on. Again, they look through the list, make sure you're eligible for that next level promotion. Your PME comes into play. Again, I was a 7-year captain before I pinned on my major. And again, that reserve active status list comes into play. So you say, okay, I know your timelines, I know the dates, what's my next step? Going from major, which I am, going to lieutenant colonel, I need a PRF. You're going to hear that. That comes into play on a couple occasions if you are a captain or you're a lieutenant and you're not ready to get promoted to the next level. Your boss and your commander is going to sit down and do a PRF for you, saying why you're not ready for that next level promotion at the first lieutenant going to captains or captains going to major if you're not ready. So they are, if you hear you have a PRF and you're probably the first lieutenant or captain, you're not doing something right. So you don't want to see that at a first lieutenant or captain. All right. Now, as a major, myself going up to lieutenant colonel after my 7-year mark, and hopefully I have all my PME complete, I will get a definitely promote. If I don't have my PME complete and I'm in the state of New Jersey, I get, the most I can get is a promote. And if I don't have those things, you probably have some bad OPRs, you have a referral OPR. Your name's going to be on that list, but your boss should do the right thing and say, hey, you're not ready to be promoted. There's some issues out there. There's a public release. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks before the board adjourns. And again, the reason why I mentioned the November timeframe earlier in the mandatory, that big list that comes out, is because once that list comes out, your boss may look at that list and say, you know what? Captain Mixit really deserves that PV promotion. I gave her 2 projects, I gave her this project, and she ran with it, she got the mission done. It was a great job, great turnout. She's spearheading this CGO, so that's a big plug for her. So it gives your commanders an opportunity to pull you off that list. Be that driving force for your unit. Be the one that the wing comes to rely on and say, hey, this officer's gonna get the job done. I can give this project to them, they're gonna turn it into gold. It has to happen though. Once they pull your name off that list, it has to get down to NGBA 1 no later than 31 January. If you miss that mark, you're gonna be locked into ROPMA. You won't be able to get PV. It's not a bad thing, but it could happen. Again, there's a process to this as well. Everything that we're talking about, a lot of it's a paper trail. Headquarters sees it. We're the liaison between the wing and the guard bureau. So again, the unit commander has to recommend you. They look at the list. We scrub the list. We approve the list. We send it back down. Your name gets added to this huge list of all the officers throughout the great nation. Again, you have an opportunity to be PV'd. And again, once you miss that date, you're locked into mandatory promotions. Now, this officer record selection briefs. Once your name gets on this list, they put you on there, then you get a chance to review all your records. Tech Sergeant Roger talked about reviewing your records, making sure it's accurate, because you don't want to send it on there a bad packet with some bad information. So make sure you take the responsibility to review your information. And I'm trying not to keep you guys past your time. All right, now this board, you don't get dressed up and go present yourself. It's all paper. The board is conducted. If you were selected for promotion, the date of promotion will be upon 7 years, like myself. If you're not selected, you get another opportunity. If you're not selected twice, then there's separation paperwork possibly headed your way. So in a nutshell, try to capture that in a brief, just to kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about, give you a few minutes to absorb that. I know there's probably some questions out there. I'm glad I have my A1 team here to assist. Where you see fully qualified, I have that little asterisk next to yes under mandatory promotion, because you probably want to have that, at that point, 7 years in your career, you should probably have that 3 prefix on the end of your AFSC. And again, this will be all on the SharePoint. Okay?